There's never been anybody as ruthless. I'm Sonny Liston, I'm Jack Dempsey. There's no one like me. I'm from their claw. There's no one that can match me.
My name is Nassim the Dream. I'm a 15-year amateur boxer, giving my views and opinions on everything boxing related. I'm here to give you guys consistent, reliable, unbiased commentary. Boxing is my passion, slaying trolls is my hobby. Hope you enjoy. Like, comment, and subscribe. So, Gary Russell Jr. gets robbed on the scorecards by Mark Masayo. Mark Masayo, he won a majority decision over Gary Russell Jr. last night. Gary Russell Jr., in my personal opinion, from what I saw throughout the fight, he was far more accurate with his shots. He was slipping more shots than Mark Masayo, using great ring generalship, turning Mark Masayo. Mark Masayo would try to come in with punches. I gave the first 3 rounds to Mark Masayo. I thought Mark Masayo was doing very well, keeping at a distance, timing Gary Russell Jr. with a beautiful lead uppercut. He hit Gary Russell Jr. with that multiple times. That was a good punch. Using his jab, landing the right hand, and effectively using aggression, being effective with his aggression, not throwing too many punches, not leaving himself open. But after that, I started to see Gary Russell Jr. take over the middle rounds. Mark Masayo, he abandoned his jab. He started to try to press the action and try to get Gary Russell Jr. on the ropes. And that's when we started to see the flaws of Mark Masayo. He started to miss and miss and miss and miss. We seen Gary Russell Jr. pivoting out the corner, hitting him with only the left hand because Gary Russell Jr. injured his hand badly in this fight. Well, not his hand, I'm going to say his shoulder. You could clearly tell he was in pain in the 3rd or 4th round. But in the middle rounds, like I said, he was just making Mark Masayo hit air all the time. I'm not being biased towards Gary Russell Jr. or Mark Masayo. I like both fighters. Both think they're very good fighters. But you have to look at a fight objectively, and that's what I'm doing. Gary Russell Jr. was just effectively countering Mark Masayo with the left hand, hitting him with multiple times, hitting him down to the body. I gave Mark Masayo, like I said, the first 3 rounds. Then I gave him the last 4 rounds. I gave him 2 out of that. So I gave Mark Masayo 5 rounds. Gary Russell Jr. 7 rounds. Mark Masayo, I think that he would have done better if he'd have stopped being so overly aggressive and leave himself to be countered. He kept lunging in and kept getting hit with shots by Gary Russell Jr. You'd have think that somebody with one hand, Mark Masayo, would have been in there using effective aggression and possibly hurt or get Gary Russell Jr. out of there. But it was the fact Gary Russell Jr. was able to stun Mark Masayo multiple times throughout this fight. Mark Masayo, like I said, he has a lot of flaws as a fighter. And if Gary Russell Jr. did not injure his shoulder, this would have been more of a clear-cut victory for him. I think this was a competitive fight, but I don't think Mark Masayo won. He just was missing too many shots. He wasn't being effective with his shots. Wasn't in some beautiful hooks to the body and to the head, but he would have a strong start, then he would just stop. He looked like he was running out of gas, like he was having issues with his stamina, like I said in my post-fight prediction. Gary Russell Jr., this was my personal opinion, a setup. You can clearly tell Showtime commentary was absolutely biased for Mark Masayo. They kept saying that Gary Russell Jr. is getting outlanded in jabs. Well, how is he? What else can he do? He only has one hand, yet he's using that to beat Mark Masayo. They were laughing about Gary Russell Jr.'s shoulder injury, and that's absolutely disgusting because Gary Russell Jr. could have easily decided to quit the fight, only having one arm, but he stayed and persevered throughout the fight, and they're just laughing at it like it's a joke. I find that to be absolutely disrespectful. Mark Masayo, you just look at the fight, man. You could say he outlanded Gary Russell Jr., but he was not landing effective shots. He never hurt Gary Russell Jr. Like I said, Gary Russell Jr. managed to stun Mark Masayo multiple times. Mark Masayo, he was outlanding Gary Russell Jr. in some rounds, but throughout the fight, he wasn't actually outpunching Gary Russell Jr. by that many punches. I definitely want to see a rematch because I think that Gary Russell Jr. will absolutely destroy Mark Masayo in a rematch. And like I said, this was a good fight, but I just didn't think that Mark Masayo impressed me in this victory. Like I said, he missed a lot of shots, was hitting air. Gary Russell Jr. had better ring generalship, pivoting out the corner, slipping a lot of punches, countering effectively. This feels similar to Pernell Whitaker versus Oscar De La Hoya, where Pernell Whitaker was able to outbox Oscar De La Hoya, but Oscar De La Hoya was able to land the so-called eye-catching shots when in fact, he was missing a lot of those shots. You have to score a fight based on everything, not just, oh, he's being aggressive, he's landing more. If you're being aggressive, then you have to be effective, and he just was not being effective with his aggression. Like I said, Gary Rush Jr. just had the better ring generalship, the better defense, and a better counterpunching ability. I didn't want to see a rematch. Like I said, this was a good fight, but I feel bad for Gary Rush Jr. I definitely think he got robbed in this fight. But to wrap this up, this is Not Seen the Dream. Rocking Shares, next is sleep. I'll holler with another one. Peace.